Greetings, dear readers, dreamers, visionaries, and those who dare to imagine a life beyond the ordinary. I ask you this: what if the very idea that seems foolish, impossible, even laughable, is the key to unlocking the life you were always meant to live? What if the whispers of doubt that tell you, "That's stupid," are actually pointing you toward the extraordinary? What if your greatest regret is not failure, but the haunting realization that you never even tried? We live in a world where fear masquerades as wisdom, where hesitation is mistaken for prudence, and where the boldest dreams often die before they ever take flight. How many times have you held an idea in your heart, only to silence it with thoughts like, "Now isn't the right time," or "I'm not ready," or worse yet, "What will people think?" If any of these thoughts have ever crossed your mind, then know this: you are standing at the precipice of something life-changing. And you are not alone. Welcome to The Power of Starting Something Stupid, a book that is more than just words on a page. It is an awakening, a battle cry, a manifesto for those who refuse to be ruled by fear. Richie Norton, a visionary and a living testament to the magic of audacity, invites us to redefine what we think we know about success, creativity, and risk. He urges us to embrace the stupid ideas, the ones that make others raise an eyebrow, because within them lies the seed of greatness. History tells us that the greatest innovations, the most revolutionary movements, and the most unforgettable achievements began as ideas that were once dismissed. The airplane, the light bulb, the internet, all were ridiculed before they reshaped the world. But the minds behind these transformations had something in common. They started, even when starting seemed foolish. And so, I ask you, dear reader, what is the stupid idea burning inside you? What is the dream you've been postponing, waiting for the perfect moment that will never arrive? If you have ever longed for more purpose, more passion, more fulfillment, then this book is your clarion call. It is time to silence the doubt, cast aside the fear, and take that first daring step toward the life you were meant to live. Let us embark on this journey together. Let us redefine what is possible. Let us harness the power of starting something stupid and, in doing so, create a future without regret. Part 1. The Power of Starting Something Stupid. Dear readers, dreamers, doers, and those standing on the precipice of something great, have you ever had an idea? A wild, audacious, seemingly stupid idea, only to push it aside, thinking, "No, that could never work. That's ridiculous. People will laugh at me." Well, my friends, you're not alone. And let me tell you, you are standing at the threshold of something powerful. Richie Norton's The Power of Starting Something Stupid isn't just another book about success. No, it's a battle cry. A revolution in thought and action. It's the blueprint for turning the very ideas that seem too impractical, too impossible, too stupid, into the very things that change the world. Let's dive into part 1, where Norton lays the foundation for why stupidity is, in fact, the smartest thing you can embrace. Chapter 1. The Stupid Loop, Why We Never Start. Picture this: you have an idea, exciting, fresh, full of potential. You think, "Wow, this could really work." And then that tiny, insidious voice creeps in. "But what if I fail? I'm not ready yet. I need more experience, more knowledge, more time." And just like that, the idea withers before it ever has a chance to breathe. Norton calls this cycle the stupid loop, the endless waiting game we play, convincing ourselves that now isn't the right time. But guess what? There is no perfect time. The perfect time is now. He introduces us to some of history's greatest minds, people who dared to do the things that others mocked. The Wright brothers, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs. Do you think they were met with applause when they first spoke of their stupid ideas? No. They were ridiculed, laughed at. But they started anyway. And so must you. Chapter 2. Stupidity as the Ultimate Competitive Advantage. Let's get something straight. When Norton talks about stupidity, he isn't talking about ignorance or recklessness. No. He's talking about boldness. He's talking about the kind of thinking that disrupts industries, challenges norms, and creates movements. In this chapter, he flips conventional wisdom on its head. Most people think success comes from experience, knowledge, and careful planning. But Norton says, the greatest innovations come not from those who have it all figured out, but from those who dare to take the first step before they feel ready. Think about it. Those who know too much about an industry often play it safe. They follow the rules. But those who are stupid enough to challenge those rules, they change the game. He shares stories of entrepreneurs, artists, and visionaries who had no formal training, no experience, only a burning idea and the courage to act on it. These are the underdogs who, time and time again, prove that innovation belongs to those who are bold enough to begin. Chapter 3. The Time Excuse, Destroying the Myth of Someday, Time. The ever-present excuse. I would start, but I just don't have time. Sound familiar? Norton obliterates this myth with one simple truth. You will never have time unless you make it. He challenges us to look at the way we spend our days. Are we truly too busy to chase our dreams? Or are we filling our time with distractions, with things that don't serve our ultimate purpose? And then, he delivers a gut punch. Time isn't promised to anyone. Norton shares the heart-wrenching story of his son, Gavin, who passed away at just 10 weeks old. This tragedy forced him to confront life's most sobering reality. We don't know how much time we have. And if that's the case, why waste a single moment waiting to start? This chapter is a call to action. A wake-up call. If you've been telling yourself you'll start someday, let me tell you, someday is a myth. The only time you have is now. Chapter 4. Fear. The liar that steals your future. Fear is the thief of dreams. It whispers in our ears, telling us we're not good enough, not smart enough, not ready. But here's what Norton wants you to understand. Fear is a liar. He dives deep into the psychology of fear, why we experience it, why we let it control us, and most importantly, how to break free from its grip. He introduces the FEAR acronym. False. Evidence. Appearing. Real. Think about that. Most of our fears, they aren't even real. They're projections of what might happen. But the truth is, the worst-case scenario we build up in our minds almost never comes to pass. And even if it does, you'll learn, you'll grow, and you'll be stronger because of it. This chapter is an anthem of courage. It's a challenge to stare fear in the face and say, I'm doing this anyway. Chapter 5. The Success of the Stupid. Real-world proof. By now, Norton has dismantled every excuse. Fear, time, doubt. But in case you still need proof, he delivers it in this powerhouse chapter. He shares the stories of individuals who started stupid ideas that turned into world-changing innovations. Reed Hastings thought DVDs by mail was a ridiculous idea. Today, we call it Netflix. Sarah Blakely had no background in fashion but created Spanx, becoming the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. Richard Branson had no experience in airlines when he started Virgin Atlantic, and yet, he built an empire. Every one of these success stories started the same way, with an idea that seemed too stupid to work. But they didn't let that stop them. So the question is, will you? Closing thoughts on Part 1, the call to action. Friends, we've just scratched the surface of Norton's wisdom. But already, you see the truth. Your stupid idea? It's your competitive advantage. Your fear? It's nothing but an illusion. Your excuse that you don't have time? It's a lie. This isn't just a book, it's a revolution. And now, the choice is yours. Will you let your doubts, your fears, your excuses keep you from the future you know you're meant for? Or will you embrace the power of starting something stupid and finally step into your greatness? The world is waiting for you. Now is your time. Stay tuned for Part 2, where we'll dive into the practical strategies to turn your stupid ideas into reality. Part 2, the PROV process, turning stupid ideas into reality. Dear readers, pioneers, visionaries, and those who dare to dream. In part 1, we shattered the myths that hold us back. We saw that our so-called stupid ideas aren't foolish at all. They are gold mines of innovation, opportunity, and transformation. But now comes the next step, the part where you stop thinking and start doing. Because an idea, no matter how brilliant, is nothing without action. This is where the PROV process comes in. This is the method, your battle plan for bringing your stupid idea to life. So buckle up. It's time to move from inspiration to implementation. Chapter 6. P. Pull the trigger, the power of immediate action. Have you ever seen a great idea die before it even had a chance to breathe? Not because it wasn't good, not because it wasn't possible, but because the person who thought of it simply never started. That ends now. The first step in the PROV process is pulling the trigger, taking immediate action before hesitation and fear creep in. Norton gives us a powerful truth. The longer you wait to start, the more likely you are to never start at all. We often fool ourselves into thinking we're preparing when really, we're procrastinating. We say, I'll start when I have more experience. I'll start when I have more money. I'll start when I feel ready. But let me tell you something. You will never feel ready. Success doesn't belong to those who wait for the perfect moment. It belongs to those who create the moment. So today, right now, what's one thing you can do to move your idea forward? Make a call? Buy a domain? Share your idea publicly? Do it now. Pull the trigger. Chapter 7. R. Refine the idea. Embracing the pivot. Now that you've taken action, it's time to shape and refine your idea. Let's get one thing straight. Your first idea will not be perfect. And that's okay. Because perfection is the enemy of progress. Norton introduces us to a game-changing mindset, the pivot principle. Think about companies like Instagram. Did you know it started as a completely different app called Burb? It was meant for location check-ins. But the founders noticed people loved posting photos, so they pivoted. The result? One of the most successful social media platforms in history. Your idea is alive. It will evolve, shift, and change, and that's a good thing. Instead of waiting for the perfect version, start now and refine as you go. So ask yourself, what's the simplest version of my idea I can launch today? Start there, and then let it grow. Chapter 8. Oh, open the door. Leveraging relationships for success. You know the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, my friends, that's only partly true. Because success isn't just about who you know, it's about who knows you and believes in what you're doing. This is where Norton's third step, opening the door, comes in. We're talking about leveraging relationships. Not in a manipulative way, but in a way that builds genuine connections and opportunities. So how do you do it? Surround yourself with dreamers, doers, and believers. Find mentors who have done what you want to do. Ask for help. Yes, you heard me, ask. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to support you if you just reach out. And most importantly, add value first. Don't just ask, what can they do for me? Ask, how can I help them? Because when you invest in others, doors will fly open for you. Chapter 9. V. Validate the idea, testing before you go all in. By now, you've taken action, refined your idea, and built connections. But before you invest all your time and resources, it's time for validation. And no, validation doesn't mean waiting for permission. It means testing the waters. Here's a powerful concept Norton teaches, the mini experiment. Instead of launching your idea in its biggest, grandest form, start small. Want to start a business? Sell one product first. Want to write a book? Publish one blog post first. Want to create an app? Build a basic prototype first. This is how you test the market without risking everything. And guess what? If it doesn't work, you haven't failed. You've learned. You can pivot, refine, and try again. The key here? Action over analysis. Don't just think about it, test it. Chapter 10. E. Execute relentlessly. the grind behind the success. Now we come to the final step, the one that separates the dreamers from the achievers. Because, let's be real, starting is exciting. The first rush of inspiration is thrilling. But success isn't about how well you start. It's about how relentlessly you execute. This is where most people quit. They hit a challenge, a setback, a rejection, and they give up. But you are not most people. Execution is about consistency over intensity. Small daily actions beat big bursts of effort. Discipline over motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline keeps you moving. Commitment over convenience. You do it even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. Every successful person you admire, they didn't just start something, they stuck with it. So the question is, will you? Closing thoughts on part 2, the moment of truth. My friends, we have traveled far. We have learned that our stupid ideas are actually genius. We have seen the path, the PROVE process, that turns ideas into reality. Now, the moment of truth. Will you let this knowledge sit in your mind, gathering dust? Or will you take it, use it, and start the thing you know you were meant to start? Because here's the truth. The world is waiting for you. Not for someone smarter. Not for someone more experienced. For you. And the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the decision to begin. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore how to sustain success and live a life without regret. Part 3, the legacy of starting something stupid, living without regret. Dear readers, visionaries, and warriors of action, we have arrived at the final chapter of our journey. In part 1, we shattered the myths of fear, perfection, and doubt. We learned that the stupid ideas, the ones that make our hearts race and our palms sweat, are often the most brilliant. In part 2, we unlocked the PROVE process, a step-by-step method to turn dreams into reality. We pulled the trigger, refined our ideas, built relationships, tested the waters, and committed to relentless execution. And now, we reach the most powerful question of all. What kind of life will you live? Because this is not just about success. It's about meaning. It's about legacy. It's about a life well lived, a life without regret. The final part of our journey is about sustaining the courage, mindset, and momentum to keep going, to keep creating, to keep moving forward no matter what. So let's dive in. Because this, my friends, is where the magic truly happens. Chapter 11. Living in the Now, the Power of Present Action. There is a lie we tell ourselves, one of the most dangerous lies of all. Someday I'll do it. Someday I'll start my business. Someday I'll write my book. Someday I'll chase my dreams. But let me ask you something. When is someday? Someday is not a day on the calendar. Someday is an illusion. And if we don't take action now, that someday will turn into never. Norton gives us a truth that shakes us to our core. Your life is happening right now. And the longer you wait to start, the more you risk losing the opportunity forever. So, here's the challenge. What can you do today? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Because the person who acts now, who takes even the smallest step, is already ahead of 99% of people who are still waiting for the perfect time. Chapter 12. Overcoming the fear of failure. The mindset of the unstoppable. By now, you've started. You've taken action. You've stepped into the unknown. And then it happens. Failure. The deal doesn't go through. The idea doesn't catch on immediately. The rejection emails start piling up. This is the moment that separates the quitters from the unstoppable. And here's what most people don't realize. Failure is not the enemy. Stopping is. Norton teaches us the growth mindset of the unstoppable. Failure is data. It tells you what needs to be adjusted. Failure is necessary. Every successful person you admire failed their way to success. Failure is temporary. The only permanent failure is quitting. So the question isn't, will I fail? The question is, will I get back up? Because the world doesn't belong to the people who never fail. It belongs to the people who fail and keep going anyway. Chapter 13. The Compound Effect. Small Actions, Massive Results. We live in a world that glorifies the overnight success. But let me tell you the truth. There is no such thing. Every great success story, every best-selling author, every world-class entrepreneur, every game-changing innovator got there through small, consistent actions over time. Success is not one giant leap. Success is a series of tiny, daily steps that add up over time. This is the compound effect. One blog post turns into a book deal. One connection turns into a business partnership. One small step every day turns into a life-changing transformation. So don't get lost in the bigness of your dream. Focus on the daily. Because what you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. Chapter 14. Defying Expectations. Choosing Your Own Path. We live in a world that loves to put us in a box. They tell us, go to school, get a job, stay safe. Don't take risks. Stick to what's practical. But let me ask you, who writes the rules for your life? Society? Your family? The critics? Or you? Norton gives us a powerful truth. The moment you stop living for other people's approval is the moment you start truly living. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need to fit into someone else's definition of success. You get to choose. And when you step into that power, when you stop apologizing for your dreams, you become unstoppable. Chapter 15. Leaving a Legacy. The Final Question. At the end of your life, you will not regret the risks you took. You will regret the chances you didn't take. You will regret the dreams you let die because you were too afraid to start. Norton asks us the most important question of all. What legacy will you leave? Not just money, not just success, but impact, meaning, a life fully lived. The people who changed the world are not the ones who played it safe. They are the ones who dared to start something stupid. And because they did, the world was never the same again. Final call to action. Your moment is now. So here we are, at the end of our journey. And now, my friends, it's time for a choice. You can walk away inspired but unchanged. Or you can take this message and act. You can finally start the thing you've been afraid to start. You can embrace your stupid idea and make it real. You can choose to live without regret. Because the world is waiting, not for someone better, smarter, or luckier, but for you. And all you have to do is begin. The Power of Starting Something Stupid is not just a book. It is a call to action, a challenge, a revolution. And now, my friends, it's your turn. Thanks for listening to Book Buzz reviews and summaries. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new video updates.